Race number 15 of the second round robin stage. It is the final race of the Louis Vuitton America's Cup qualifiers. Sir Ben Ainsley's Land Rover BAR against Jimmy Spithill's Oracle Team USA, who of course will not race again here for 2 weeks now, skipping the next phase and preparing as defenders for the match itself.
45.
Fairly tame pre-start so far, but this is when the sparks traditionally fly, with Spithill going in for a hook and gaps off at the very last second. They think they're racing, we hear Slingsby saying, so that means they think they're on time for the start, or maybe even late.
Got to be a degree of bluff and double bluff in here. Who's doing what? Who is expected to do what? What will Ainsley do from this position?
Well, you just heard Ainsley say, so annoying. That means clearly he thinks a mistake was made, and give this start easily to Jimmy Spithill.
The Americans off to a flyer then against Sir Ben Ainsley and his British crew. The wing wash coming off the American boat and disturbing the air of the British.
Almost 5 knots boat speed difference, and that is that wing wash. You see Spithill actually positioning himself, what we call on top of, right directly in front of, slightly to windward, and really slowing down. 5 knots between the two boats, and that is absolutely what Spithill is trying to do. This is not something that just happens to be happening. That is absolutely what he is trying to do. Not a very happy Ben Ainsley after that pre-start.
Dog eat dog. 35 knots from the Americans, tearing around the first mark.
And likely trying something different. Again, this is it. They're going to be testing and training, for the most part, on their own for the next couple of weeks. This is their last hardened battle that they're going to have. So they're trying to go away, and you always talking about teams going into their bye weeks or whatever. They're going into their bye 2 weeks. And they want to go in on a high note, where if you're Ainsley, you're just looking to keep improving, because you're going to have a tough match tomorrow no matter what happens.
It's going to be fascinating to see who the Kiwis choose for their opponents in the Challenger playoff semi-finals. They will get the option to decide their opposition, and we'll learn that a little bit later this afternoon in the press conference. I would suggest that the British would be right up there in terms of choices for the Kiwis.
You just never know. I think a lot of it has to do with weather forecasting and who you think is strong in the next few days of weather. Weather people, for the most part, can give you a decent idea of the next 2, maybe 3 days. So they'll be using that weather forecasting to make their decision as much as anything.
Not much on it.
Pretty slick jibe by Ainsley right there. Everybody seems to be turning slightly more aggressively. Again, that copycat mentality. Certainly, Emirates Team New Zealand has taken that to an extreme on how quickly they spin the boat in tacks and jibes at times. Others seem to be following suit.
4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, man.
Okay, diving here.
Holding.
Well clear, the Americans leaving it very, very tight to the gate.
2,
Doing
1.
their eagle with their weather dagger board down. You see that dagger board is down going into that mark. They're trying to get ultimate stability, stay on the foils. Then they pop the thing up and out of the way. That's their eagle.
And the British looking to split the course. Go hunting for air. Hunting for extra speed to try to reel in Jimmy Spithill.
Yep, foiling tack. 4, 3, 2, 1. Turning.
Textbook
Just a little
stuff.
lower, Langer.
Game to him, everyone. 23s.
All right, a little wrong with that. What about the wind direction, Kenny?
Yeah,
23s here, we're in a bit of
a left, like a left wind shift. You see the angles, it's probably the left-hand breeze right now, the angles, and this could actually give Ben a little bit of a break coming out of that left-hand corner.
Yeah. Not much. This is your Bengal. Have you got him?
Yeah, he's still
Okay, we're gonna face him.
Next one will be a touch and go.
So I'm going to interpret that. We're going to face him, which means a kind of an old school match race move that you don't see as much of in boats like this. It means they're going to attack smack in front of Ainsley.
1.
Try to use that wing wash again.
Turning.
Turn harder, on it. Okay,
Stay on our VMGs here.
So a deliberate ploy from the Americans to try to disturb the air that the British are receiving.
Great angle.
Slow them up.
Yeah, that was perfect angle. You can really see smack on top of Ainsley. And they're in sequence net right now. So all of a sudden, you give up a little bit of your lead in order to kind of get control. And that's what Slingsby and Spitzhill did very, very well right there. Ainsley will split away and again try to create a gap. Let's see if Oracle goes with him.
Yeah, keep going.
Let's stand by.
So the manoeuvring has been much more reliable from the British so far this afternoon.
Turn hard.
Maybe out of foil.
There go the Americans. They are heading off that way similarly.
Good pressure this way. And need to know when to step up again. Keep the build on.
So the Americans with a reasonable lead, but Sir Ben Ainsley not too far away. Jimmy Spithill seems very keen, Ken, just to keep him on a relatively tight leash. He wants him within reach, but he wants to keep him at arm's length.
I think if you're a British fan, you got to like what you see right now. You're not falling any further behind, and their tacks and jives have been quite stable
right,
at this stage.
Favor. So just copy VMG.
Another good example of that from
significant.
Ben Ainsley.
Yes, I think again that day off gave them an opportunity, just a little breathing space in order to sit down and really go through their maneuvers and try to get some more power coming from these grinders through their hydraulic system, technique on how you deal with your dagger boards. You can see, Ali, as we talked about earlier in the day, teams are getting better and better and better. And soon those big mistakes almost become eliminated. That's when it comes back to a faster boat versus a slower boat, because we've seen enough mistakes that I'm sure the crews would say we're learning, we're training, we're testing, we're trying new things. Well, now they're going to start, they've eliminated a majority of those, and the faster boat starts kind of coming to the forefront.
He will tag, he will follow him on his hammer. He's going to go over late and come in hot.
Brits are going okay here. They got to be very happy with what they're seeing on this leg. By no means has Oracle Team USA pulled away. We saw earlier in the day, Oracle Team USA fine with Emirates Team New Zealand. So the Brits got to be really pleased with what they're seeing right now.
Staying in touch. The defenders looking pretty comfortable themselves. Must be an enormous comfort to know that they got that first victory in the opening race today against the New Zealanders. How critical it might prove in the final analysis.
Big speed difference between the two boats right now. Oracle having a harder time, I think, getting up on their foils than BAR.
Here we go, Bob.
Really soft here. You're going to have to lead him with these.
Into the gate go the British. And again, an altogether more clinical manoeuvre than we saw a couple of days ago, even from the British crew. They're right there.
They're right there, and now they're thinking about the geometry of the race course. They're thinking about positioning. They're thinking about where Giles Scott likes the breeze. He's looking for those dark patches that we talked about on the water, the puffs in the water.
Yeah, no higher on right height.
Bad waves for a while.
Just take a halfer off, Jimmy. I just don't want to wipe out.
Still trying to come down. Bad waves, bad waves. I think it's just a big check there. I'll go.
So let's bring in Guy Endine again, part of the
30 seconds to boundary.
Kiwi team here in Bermuda. He's on the water for us. Guy, anything you're spotting out there that we haven't seen? Any critical element that might make the difference between these two?
No higher right.
No, well, I think they're kind of trying to match each other's modes at the moment. I saw for a while there, Oracle sailing a little bit deeper, looked quite fast, and sort of wanting to sort of get on through under BAR, and it's a nice dive by BAR then. They seem to be manoeuvring really well, and I think it's been a trend of the day for BAR, so well done to them.
So, Guy, I mean, I'm not trying to pin you into this corner again, but is there anything on BAR you see that might change your mind as to how they look going into the next round? Because, I mean, I guess you just said it. We've been talking about it. They look far more stable than they have in this lighter breeze in past races.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely improving every time they go out. And I think today's probably an example of a boat which is a slightly better setup than another team in terms of their configuration of boards, rudders, because they seem to be maintaining flight through the tacks pretty nicely, and the jibes as well. But for Team New Zealand, I mean, it's not a bad pick going into the semis. You know, with his starting ability, Ben's a really good match racer, so you never know, it could be a good matchup.
Yeah, copy that.
Is that a hint?
Okay, jiving.
I'll have to wait and see.
Your turn.
It's all about the subterfuge and the secrecy, cloak and dagger.
We see boats constantly opening up, what appears to open up considerably on the run. You have to remember that when you round that weather mark, let's say a 100-meter lead turns into a 200-meter lead just because of the acceleration downwind. And we should see it shrink up a little bit down at this bottom gate. So that's one of the reasons why the gaps seem to expand and contract so quickly.
Little build here, and we're going to go.
Oof, tough. Celia at this leeward gate. This is a tough move. They pull this off, then they're way more stable than they've ever been, and they do. Wow. Very well done.
So a big speed differential at the moment. The Brits gaining all the time on the far side of the course.
Better pressure, it's all heading
It's become a kind of constant mantra of each team, isn't it? This notion of daily improvement. But we have to listen to them when they talk about it, because it is very real. It is what they go and do in their time off the water that counts so much when they come back. Changes are put into play, and all that experience brought to bear.
Essentially, we look in the upper left-hand corner, lighter air, but for the most part, a dead neutral race course right now. No right-hand shift, no left-hand shift. The wind coming smack down the middle of the race course.
Oracle Team USA in control of the race at the moment, but Sir Ben Ainsley and his British crew are not too far behind, and they will not be shaken off at this point. They are being terrier-like, snapping away at the Americans' heels.
Yeah, I'd like to be in a high groove in this light stuff. Yeah.
There's the American tactician, Tom Slingsby.
Okay, VMG now.
He's looking back at the mode of the Brits, trying to again position that wing wash to do a little bit of damage, but as you can see, it was a couple 100-meter lead on the run, and it immediately turns into a 100-meter lead on the beat. So this is one mistake away from being a very, very close race.
Just keep coming a little further. Okay, happy.
3, 2, 1.
Another attack from the British. And And there go the Americans too, almost simultaneously.
Attack.
I think one more should be enough to safely get through the gate, Ken.
Yes, and what Spithill had to understand right there is going all the way to the boundary, that extra little bit wasn't going to make any difference because they're going to have to do one more tack into this gate anyway.
We will tack their away.
Copy.
I've got to give a bit of oil.
Yep.
We've got quite a few maneuvers coming up.
Now this doesn't set up well at the top gate though. Remember, this next little run is very quick. You would rather round the left-hand gate mark if you were given your druthers here. You would absolutely want to round the left-hand side. Oracle's set up right now to round the right-hand side. That means a couple more maneuvers after they go around the gate.
Turn hard.
So a bit more of a challenge potentially facing the USA here. We're entering a critical stage.
We'll be going down a little belly here, Stephen.
Okay, doing an extra tack, but saving a drive.
Let's see if Ainsley tries to do a tack around the left side of the gate to minimize one jibe downwind. He's got to do something here right now. He's running out of time.
Okay, stand by.
One off, Debbie.
Happy.
3. Okay, standing by. 1. Okay, tacking.
There's Oracle's jibe, and they're going to have to do another jibe right at that mark. So they're going to have to do 2. There's Ainsley heading for that left-hand favored gate with only one jibe to go. They'll be grinding some hydraulic fluid right now, I'll tell you that, because they got one more jibe coming up here in about 30 seconds.
Holding here, please. In 10.
Such a short leg.
Standing by.
4.
And the British have plenty to do from here. The Americans are a blur of activity as they round the final mark and head for the finish line. It's looking very much as if they've done enough now.
They both did what they had to do. Oracle spent their extra maneuver on the run, on the downwind leg. Ainsley had to try something. They pulled off a tack and then a quick jibe, and yeah, they're a little bit behind, but I'll tell you, Ainsley looked really smooth in this race. If it weren't for that start, they started out ahead. There's no reason they wouldn't have stayed ahead. They looked as stable as they have looked in lighter air through this entire event thus far.
Trying to chase them down, but it will surely be in vain from this kind of distance. Good boat speed from both of the teams, but it's looking like being America's day. Ruthless as ever. Jimmy Spithill with the prize firmly in his sights.
This is it for Oracle for a while. This is the last kind of in pressure, hand-to-hand. Sure, you can go out and test and train, but it's always a different feeling. These guys, when you start a race, when you're racing for real, you're racing in front of the cameras, certainly it's a different feel. And they have 2 weeks off. The defender goes off on his own, and the challengers will keep battling it out. We're going to have more of this craziness starting again tomorrow. Bicycles and
no let up. Straight in, no delay after the qualifying stage, straight into the Challenger playoff semi-finals. The lineups to be confirmed a little bit later on this afternoon.
At the final press conference, right? I think that's when the Kiwis are going to make their choice.
That's when the big reveal is. The Americans, though, completing their qualifying campaign with another victory. Britain seen off and ensuring that if anybody is to rip the America's Cup from their grasp, they will have to come at them very, very hard. What about that for a flyby?
That's a good flyby, too. Not quite as good as Artemis, but, you know, the judges will give them maybe an 8.6.
Huge applause, huge cheers greeting the Americans. Bonus point for them, safely secured a key leg up in their quest to retain that famous trophy. Britain coming in behind, some way back, but in defeat. Positives for Sir Ben Ainsley and Land Rover BAR.